Hello there, it's Tania Gabrielle, Wealth Astro-Numerologist. Welcome to Star Codes, the podcast where we look at an upcoming event in the stars and numbers, the astrology and numerology. And in this case, it's a very exciting, very fortunate lunation, the Sagittarius full moon. Now, Sagittarius is ruled by Jupiter, and Jupiter is the greater benefic. Jupiter makes everything feel big and large and exuberant and pleasurable and joyful and abundant. And Jupiter is filled with wisdom and learning, and it's just a wonderful planet. And Jupiter just entered a new sign. Remember, we are in the midst of this epic event with all the important outer planets switching signs. And Jupiter is the fourth of 5 planets to do so. And that happened 2 days before the Sagittarius full moon, which Jupiter rules. Now, Jupiter left Gemini and entered Cancer on June 9th, and then June 11th is when we have the Sagittarius full moon, and it happens at 8:44 a.m. Universal Time London. That's 3:44 a.m. Eastern New York and 12:44 a.m. Los Angeles Pacific Time. And because it's ruled by Jupiter, we will feel a lot of opportunity, especially regarding looking at our beliefs, restructuring our beliefs, gaining more wisdom. Now, Sagittarius also governs the quest for truth. And we are in the 21st century, and in numerology, 21 represents the truth shall set you free. So Sagittarius is very connected to the number 21. And it also governs adventure, taking a risk, getting out of your comfort zone. So there's a lot of faith that you need and optimism to take those risks. And that is what Sagittarius provides, is these positive expectations that then yield positive outcomes. So with Sagittarius and with Jupiter, you actively seek solutions because the whole energy is catapulting you forward towards successful outcomes. Remember that Sagittarius is a fire sign like Aries, and the fire signs in general, Leo, Aries, Sagittarius, are quick to make decisions and very proactive and somewhat impatient as well because the forward momentum impulse is so strong. Now, since Jupiter rules Sagittarius and will have just changed signs 2 days prior to the Sagittarius full moon and changed to 0 degrees Cancer, this is really going to elevate the full moon, not only because of the newness of the experience for Jupiter, but because Cancer happens to be the sign that Jupiter is exalted in. And any planet's sign of exaltation is the sign that it feels most empowered in. So this is going to be a huge Sagittarius full moon for that reason. So what else makes this full moon so special? Well, right before Jupiter enters Cancer, the day before, Jupiter conjuncts Mercury, the ruler of Gemini. And this happens at 29 degrees Gemini, which is the final degree of Gemini, prior to Jupiter moving into 0 degrees Cancer. So Mercury, Gemini, connected, Jupiter, exalted in Cancer. This is absolutely huge. This happens on Sunday, June 8th. And that date adds up to 23 in the universal date for the numerology. And 23 is the royal star, the lion number, the strongest number in numerology. And 8 is the infinity number, June 8th. And so it really gives a forecast for a lot of big energy, big moments, major undeniable shifts, and also getting a greater vision over the next year, really, as Jupiter moves into Cancer. So there's a lot of good news when Mercury and Jupiter are in a conjunction. There's optimism, there's enthusiasm, it favors business transactions. And remember that Jupiter's moving into Cancer, which governs home business. So already we know that this next year is going to be a huge elevation for home businesses as well. There are many advantages. There's something that happens when you can see beyond the horizon and have that bigger vision that transcends just the myopic view of the current scene that's in front of you. So it enables you to be very generous, and also your desire for independence and adventure is strong because you want to channel that beautiful ability to see beyond the horizon to some proactive searching and journeying. So you want to be open to explore how you can do that in your life. And we'll get to that in a bit. I'm going to focus first on more of the aspects during the Sagittarius full moon, because the moon trines Mars and the sun is sextile Mars, and Mars rules Aries, another fire sign. And Aries is the sign where we just had 2 of the other 5 outer planets enter at 0 degrees, and that is Saturn and Neptune. So Mars figures greatly being the ruler of Aries. And remember, Aries is the first sign of the zodiac. So there's a lot of new beginnings energy in general right now with those 2 planets entering at the same time, which hasn't happened in 12,000 years. And then the sun and moon are also connected to Chiron. So the moon is trying to Chiron, the sun is sextile Chiron. That brings a lot of tenderness and healing and getting to know yourself in a way that is very spiritual. It's a soul level understanding of your purpose, of your dream. And we have, of course, Mercury conjunct Jupiter, which we already discovered. We have also Mercury sextile Venus, which is exact during the full moon. And that is beautiful. Venus is the other benefic, Jupiter being the greater, Venus being the lesser benefic. So when Mercury sextiles Venus, the communication is through Sagittarius grand and passionate, and you appreciate others with your words, and you're very artistic and creative, and you want to pay attention to the sounds around you and the sound of your voice, and your sensitivity to the meaning of sound is really strengthened right now. Mercury is also square to Saturn and Neptune, which are in that conjunction in Aries, and that gives you a lot of great concentration. It's not so good for negotiation. You need to be very patient if you do, because your thinking may be a little bit more rigid when Mercury square to Saturn. Now with Mercury square Neptune, you want to keep your conversations clear by addressing every thought and not skimming over things, because you may get distracted, pulled in other directions, and Neptune and Mercury can bring up some confusion and illusion. Then Jupiter is square to Saturn and Neptune as well. Remember, Jupiter and Mercury are conjunct, so Jupiter is also going to create a square. So that can create some inner tension, because what you're being asked to do is to break down long-held beliefs or limiting circumstances. So that would be a big theme around this Sagittarius full moon. Remember that Sagittarius does govern our beliefs, and so we are being asked to take more responsibility for what it is that we are assuming to be true. We have to take responsibility for our personal growth, for our happiness, and we need to really focus on implementing changes that feel positive, because they're going to leave a lasting impact on our life with this Saturn-Jupiter energy. Jupiter and Neptune, when they get into a square, now these are the 2 planets of the big vision. You may question some of the bigger beliefs that you've had on deeper subject matters. You certainly don't want to be in denial about anything that you uncover. It's very important to really be proactive and use the inspirational energy that can come out of this connection between Jupiter and Neptune to really spur your creative spark. Listen to what inspires you and fires you up, and follow that. It'll keep you centered and grounded. And finally, we have Venus square Pluto as well. This is a big one because it challenges your intimate relationships. You want to look at any control issues or power issues. If you don't feel like you're being valued, you need to look at that as well. Very important. In healthy relationship, this particular transit of Venus and Pluto really steps up the attraction factor. In fact, if you meet somebody new, you will be instantly attracted to them. You want to dive into your creativity and uncover secrets. And, Pluto loves to get down to the nuts and bolts of what's really deriving the situation that you're in. Now, the planets are changing signs at a pace and scale that we've rarely seen. In fact, we don't have a memory of all 5 outer planets changing signs as they are now. And because this Sagittarius full moon is tied into one of those 5 planets, also by the virtue of the timing of it, it's a very important full moon. So these 5 outer planets are creating shifts that are seismic shifts because they are literally once in many a lifetime turning points that are being, because having the 5 outer planets change signs means we are in the midst of a once in a many lifetime turning point in our human history. And this is personal and collective. So from late 2024 until July 2025, every major planet, Pluto, Neptune, Uranus, Saturn, Jupiter, is in the process of changing signs and creating this huge wave of energetic and cultural and political and personal transformations. And these planetary shifts are not like this abstract thing where, oh yeah, the outer planets are all changing signs at once. We have no historical record of this ever happening before. So this is already now reshaping the very fabric of our lives, of society. And you most likely, since we're now coming to the 4th of the 5 planets with its own full moon in tow as well, you are most likely going to be creating sudden changes in your life. And that can be in your career, in your relationships, in your emotional state. You are going to push for freedom. You're going to push for something new and be very bold and act in a very courageous way in doing that. You may also have the urge to update your beliefs, your goals, shift them around, look at how you're defining yourself in a new way, and that obviously impacts where you're heading. And you also will notice that you need to adapt very quickly because old patterns and certainties are dissolving rapidly. When Neptune entered Aries at the very end of March, Neptune dissolves, and Aries is the first sign. So it's dissolving the last 165 years because that's Neptune's cycle around the sun, right? So that means it was 165 years ago that Neptune entered Aries. That's a long time. So now it's dissolving all the patterns and certainties that we've latched onto are being shifted. The veils are starting to fall in a big way now. That's also Neptune. It's the other planets as well, because basically we are shifting what we're putting faith in, who we're putting faith in, and that includes any leaders that we have been following, whether consciously or blindly, because that is the name of the game when these slow moving planets that create these epic shifts to begin with all are changing to 0 degrees of a new sign. So at first, the feeling may be one of feeling lost, confused, feeling like, what do I do? Where do I go? However, if you are curious and you keep asking questions, if you're enthusiastic, if you have the wisdom and clarity to extricate yourself from whatever you took for granted or whatever you thought was written in stone, was not changeable, if you're able to open your heart and your mind to extricating yourself from that sense of certainty, because really nothing is certain when the outer planets all change signs, at the same time, then you will extricate yourself from that web and not blindly trust a person or organization just because, right? Just because that's how it's always been done. Don't assume that it is something to place your trust into. Really, what it comes down to is, as you do this questioning and you face some inevitable hard facts, it will change your life from the inside out. And that's the point, because you will then trust here your instinct and your ability to research and gain total control of the actual subject matter itself. You have journeys to go on. You have people to serve. You have a divine mission to honor. You need to stay in your lane and focus on that, and don't mind all the distractions that are coming our way more and more and more. So be full of conviction about how you feel, how you authentically feel. Use words with meaning, words that paint a picture, words that have metaphor, because that will drive your authenticity home. So you want to move forward with that trust and faith, but not in the external, but that trust and faith in that you've done your due diligence and researched and know for sure, intuitively and also realistically, what truly is the case, and not be blind to your ability to be able to uncover anything that you need to uncover, especially when it involves you and your sovereignty. So the outer planets changing signs into Aquarius, into Aries, into Cancer, into Gemini, and Gemini will be the final sign when Uranus enters Gemini from Taurus, and that will be in early July. You are, as a result, living a new life of personal responsibility. Now, Pluto was the first outer planet to enter 0 degrees, and that was on November 19th, 2024, 0 degrees Aquarius, really initiating our Aquarian age, the 2160 year age. We have 12 ages, and we're moving from the Piscean age, which began around 2000, and now going into the Aquarian age. And then Neptune was the second planet, Saturn is the third of the 5 planets, and now Jupiter, the fourth, ruler of the Sagittarius full moon. So Pluto, the planet of transformation, of power, initiated it all. And that makes sense, because we are literally getting empowered and getting transformed. And these are keywords of what is actually going on Earth right now. So you really do want to understand Pluto's impact right now until 2044. It's going to take that long, 20 years for Pluto to move through Aquarius. So I've created a brand new masterclass that is all about Pluto and Aquarius, the astrology shift for the ages, and you can watch it at shiftfortheages.com. Get instant access. Discover how Pluto and Aquarius will impact your life, what to look out for, how to prepare, what the 11 previous Pluto and Aquarius periods in history reveal. We go all the way before Christ and look at an unmatched perspective in history where you can get powerful guidance on our current 20-year cycle. And we especially look at the most recent Pluto and Aquarius cycle that happened between 1777 and 1798, a huge time in history, what it portends for now, and so much more. So enjoy that free masterclass at shiftfortheages.com, and have a beautiful Sagittarius full moon and Jupiter moving to 0 degrees Cancer, and a gorgeous week. And I look forward to seeing you in next week's Star Codes podcast. Lots of love.